Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Penny and Ill-Informed Podcast, where I am joined with every single co-host, Nikki, Tom, Kevin. Tom, how
Hey,
are you?
Yeah, doing good. Doing all right, people. Yeah.
Kevin, how are you?
Doing well. You're going round counterclockwise today, just turning it on its head. You're turning it on
Nikki,
head.
how are you?
Happy solstice.
I, 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 I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's 11 o'clock at night, and the sun has finally set.
Yay.
I hate this time of year. I'm not even going to lie. This time of year and midwinter are the absolute worst.
Oh,
The
no,
sun
man.
never doesn't rise at a stupid time, and it sets at a stupid time.
I think they're both great. I love both extremes. I love it when it's getting dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I love it when it's still light at 10 o'clock at night. I love both solstices. I think they're fabulous.
Yes, but you also think whacking a coconut on the side of a school is perfectly acceptable behaviour, so...
Well, yeah, but does it ever go that? I mean, you're on the same latitude as well. Is that right? Latitude, longitude. Anyway,
Nah.
you're on the same level. Does it ever actually go completely dark? Because I know it seems like in Northern Ireland, it doesn't actually go fully dark. I mean, it's sort of twilight in the summertime, like right about now. It's always sort of twilight. You could get around if you had to.
Yeah, that's about the best way of explaining the darkness. It's like... It's night, but it's not like totally night. I've no doubt... People often say that the self-delete rate is pretty high in Alaska, and I've got no doubt that's true, because that's the only negative of living in Alaska for me. It's just like in the summer the sun never sets, and in the winter it never rises.
Ooh.
I would be okay with all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got
I
these things.
I
that-
love
that,
it. I love it when it starts getting dark around, like 4 here. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I just really enjoy this. I just really love these seasonal changes.
Well, I look at it like this. I need a little bit of space to go out and do some things, some light. And if it was dark all the time, I think that would affect some people a lot. You know what I mean? But I mean, the constant light has never bothered me because they make these things called drapes. You know what I mean? But not having natural light does affect a lot of people, I think, in the wintertime. Unless you
Yes.
can get those lamps now that give you the vitamin D.
Some of us have seasonal affective disorder, and some of us really hate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about the weather. Let us move on to what I like to call Richie Sumac's endless crusade to get unelected.
Oh, it's special. It's special, this one.
I have
Go on.
never seen any politician put so much effort into not getting re-elected as Richie Sumac is, and I've got to give it to him. The man, like, he's doing exactly what I would do if I was him. I'd know that I was screwed no matter what, and I'd be giving press conferences in my underwear with a fag on and a beer in one hand, be like, "You, dunno. Next question." You know, because he's not getting.
Why not?
Yeah,
The-
exactly.
It's just car crash after car crash. We had him leave the D-Day commemorations early, which was an almighty own goal, and it's now emerged that when he called an election, when he was about to call an election, several Tory insiders went to the bookies and put a bet on to say, we think there's going to be election one day soon, and they did, and there was, and they've tried to cash in their winnings, and they've been absolutely rumbled, and it's yet another massive Tory scandal. It's the last thing Rishi Sunak needed. That he's had loads of his own goals and has totally messed up a load of stuff and his party are messing stuff up for him. There's the polls are predicting a wipeout that would dwarf 1997, which was an almighty Labour victory.
When
in the first
John
election.
Major got unelected.
Yes.
Sorry?
When John Major lost to Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, but I look at it. I'm a little bit older than you folks, so I'm trying to think about it from Richie Sunak's perspective here. I mean, how would he know how to, you know, act on certain things and what would be popular, what it wouldn't be popular, based on the fact that when he was growing up, there was only 4 television channels. And he didn't have Sky TV.
I was just getting to that. I was just about to say.
No,
John mentioned some scandals, but we haven't talked about his own personal tragedy.
No, that was his own little journey. Now, let me preface this as being somebody who grew up in the 1970s and 80s. Okay, so I turned what was that? I turned 19 in 1990. So let me put it to you this way. When I was 19, I moved back to the United Kingdom for a while and did some different things. I won't go into it, but anyway, at that point in time, there was no such thing as Sky TV. Just so you know, Sky TV was not introduced into Britain until 1993. So everybody who was my age grew up without Sky TV.
Yep. So did I.
Yeah, we didn't have it in my house either.
So
Sumac, I feel your pain, brother.
Yeah, I don't know how you could. I don't know how you could do it.
Just dying of boredom, just going outside, climbing trees.
Yes.
Or, where he went to Eton probably, didn't he?
Right.
So he was getting rogered by all the popular boys.
Well, we didn't have Channel 5. We didn't have Dave TV. We didn't have Yesterday. We didn't have any way of seeing classic EastEnders from 10 years ago.
I mean, I'm not old enough to remember when there were only 3 channels, but I can remember when there were only 4 channels.
No, there was. I think there was always, as far as I know, there was when I was growing up, there was always 4.
No,
so
my
there
dad
was.
Says that there used to only be 3: that BBC 1, BBC 2, and the Light.
Right,
which was what ITV used to be called.
Yes. So BBC 1, BBC 2, BBC 3 is still on one of those situations where it's not broadcast half the day. And then ITV, or in Northern Ireland, UTV, what they used to call it. But anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the poor guy, he's just lurched from disaster to disaster to disaster. Honestly, it's got to be like he's bet on himself to lose, is the only thing I can think of.
Yes, it does. It does seem like he's cooked the books in favor of losing.
Just like, unless he's playing like 4D chess on a level I cannot even comprehend, some of the best strategy disguised as gross incompetence. If it wasn't for Nigel Farage, I would, say that he's the worst politician in England, but Nigel Farage exists, so
yeah.
Let me throw this out at you just in case. What if, I mean, there's certain things that happened in the last few weeks. America's been taken off the petrodollar. Now the petrodollar is also backed up by rubles and something else. Maybe these folks who really act like they don't want to win know that something is coming that will implode the economies of America, and they
don't want to have to deal with it.
And they would be the ones that said, we weren't in charge whenever that happened.
I mean, that's got to be it.
Well, I mean,
self-destruction.
Well, to be honest with you, do you think, I mean, you know how I feel. I think that's a terrible way of thinking, but I also think that, the politicians don't work anymore. They just sort of ride through a lot of different things. And so if you can blame it on somebody else, then that's the way to do it. So you take yourself out of power for 4 years, watch the thing implode, and then bring it back. It's kind of that old idea when, I mean, I don't know. It was an offhanded comment that Trump made about the start of the year where he said, well, I really hope the economy tanks before the election so that I don't get blamed for it. You know what I mean? And that's how these people think.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care about us. But that's you know, it's one of those things.
Oh God, it's because we've got general elections coming in both America and the US. No, sorry,
And the US.
Sorry, UK.
In America and the US. Wow. Yeah,
I've already tried to correct myself. And I'd be very interested in your opinions on the fact that we've got Joe Biden and Donald Trump again. Because, I mean, I can't help but think, is this really the best that both parties can do? I mean, is that really the best?
No, clearly it's not.
No.
Clearly it's not. But the thing about it is that is the situation that we've been given. These two guys they'll both be either 80 or in their 80s. I mean, regardless of who it is. Donald Trump's what, 79 or something? Anyway, he'll be in his 80s if he wins. And Joe Biden will be in his 80s if he wins. They're both showing signs.
Trump is already shitting himself.
Yeah, well, he's
like, I mean, I always thought he was just thick. You know, we just thought he had a fat ass, but then it just turns out
he's got a diaper.
He's got a diaper. Yeah. Trump ain't thick. He's got a diaper.
Well, and here's the thing about it is all I'm saying about that is neither of them, if you were actually to try to test them, where are geniuses.
Period.
Neither of them are are really sort of excellent at a lot of different things. I mean, clearly I would say that Donald Trump is a magnet, you know, and he's got magnetism. That doesn't mean
charisma.
Yeah. But that doesn't, you know, that's great, but that doesn't really necessarily. I mean, Jim Jones had magnetism, but you know what I mean.
Well, that's
every
good
cult
comparison.
leader has.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good comparison with the.
Yeah. So I mean, but I'm not equating him to that. Okay.
I'm blatantly saying
yeah,
it.
absolutely, 100%.
So I mean, there's no thing that I'll say is obviously, you know, I'm just saying some of the things that some of the things that a lot of people say, oh, well, this and that, and this, you know, you could take apart almost any one of their ideas and show how that would be a terrible thing for the people. But again, this is one of those things where, again, this is the screwed up mind that we have. You know, it's kind of a funny thing where around every election time, every really, really, really rich person sends us a request for money because they need our help until they get elected. And then when a poor person asks them for money, or a person like, you know, I'm not saying I'm poor. I mean, I'm not dying and I'm not homeless, thank goodness. But after that, if we were to say we need money for this, they'd say no.
Absolutely.
It's what do you call that? It's like an abuse of a relationship.
100%.
Yeah. And that's it. And yet they have no problem taking, you know, $25 off a lady on Social Security that can't afford stuff and then keep asking her for it. with no, and it's not like they even say, oh well, we're going to up your social security, because that's not going to happen. But then at the same point in time, that's how it is. So I mean, it's that whole idea. And so I mean, remember, well, you guys are too young, but Reagan had a term for unwed black mothers, calling them welfare queens. You see what I'm saying? And that was a very racist thing to put back then. Everybody knew what he was trying to get at and everything like that. And then they'll say, "Oh no, he wasn't. What? Well, that term that he used then was taken on by, I'm going to say it, Clinton as well. Was a very one parent relationship phobic or shaming, and sort of it was the whole idea that the majority of people who were on welfare were black female Democrats, which isn't even true, by the way. But anyway,
Not at all.
No. And so, but anyway, that's how you get this idea of that. But then at the same point in time, you can't. But that's that sort of toxic thing where we are paying for these people's petty and ill-informed views of their country. How you like that one, Tom? I worked that in.
Game on.
Nicely
Good work.
done.
Nice. So then, we've discussed politics. Religion. Which of the existing world religions do you guys think is the most cultish?
Oh, the most cultish. Well, I think it's kind of a spectrum. I think it's kind of a spectrum. And at what point? So maybe in order to answer that question, we need to define what you mean by cultish. Do you mean very hard to leave, or do you mean? Well, maybe it means, when I think of cult, I think of sort of a deliberate attempt to brainwash and sort of take control of your thinking and your faculties. I know. Whether you're free to leave, how free you are to leave or not, is what I was taught at school as the how you distinguish a cult from a religion is how easy is it to leave, and that of course is very subjective. And I mean, there are several institutions that will sit absolutely on the borderline. What about that church in Kansas that has a constant prayer vigil praying for the second coming, and they literally have a team of people that are praying continuously?
Yeah, I was about to say my thought process is always who has the most what is the word? Radical followers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the more you get into, I mean, I've personally experienced some relatively extreme and relatively full-on manifestations of Christianity in my life. Certainly, yeah, yes. I mean, and I think, Nikki, we've both probably got it in common that we found ourselves very heavily indoctrinated, to the point where I dare say I speak for both of us when I say we were not in control of our faculties and we were not in control of our thought processes.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly not fully. So which of the religions that really sit on that fence, on that border between sort of, Aleister Crowley and his Golden Dawn and the Church of England, the ones that kind of sit on right on the border.
Like the Church of England, though.
Well,
there's something about a religion that was formed purely because of a king's narcissistic hissy fit. Just, I'm like, yeah.
True.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing you could say about it is, at any given point in time, any one of those churches could have been said to have been cultish in nature, right? The Church of England obviously was cultish, and the only reason that you believed in it is because you didn't want to get your head chopped off because
Burned at the stake, not chopped.
well, okay, burned at the stake.
It's
Well,
very
whatever.
important to remember that. They weren't given a quick death. They were burned at the stake.
Yes. So you have that heretical part of it. Before that, the Catholic Church obviously does it, but
Mhm.
but the thing I think that a lot of times that we don't. I mean, somebody there's a quote, and I don't know who said it, but it basically says it's a cult is a religion that doesn't have any political power, right? So you tend not to think of things like the Roman Catholic Church or Sunni Islam or Shia Islam as being cultish, except in the extreme, because they actually have political power in order to dictate what you should believe. So, in other words, you've already been indoctrinated into it. It's the ones around the outside that you find to be cultish until you're forced to go in that direction. That's the way I almost look at it because I have said this for a long time in America. I mean, there are cultish groups of, sort of pro, what do you call them? Religious Christian nationalists or whatever, which are basically, like,
Mhm.
that, whatever, white
Fashion.
or fascists or whatever. But the thing about it is nobody defines them as being cultish at this point in time because
They are
they're
kind of
not.
the newer generation is.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest with you, is anybody paying that much attention to it? They think, okay, well, these are Christians, they're fine. You know what I mean? They're fine. But as with all circles that get smaller, as you
Mhm.
as you divide and conquer, you're going to take a wide swath of people you can get in on your idea, which is
Yeah.
America needs to be a Christian nation, which a lot of people that are Christians are going to say, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So you wipe out the other bit and then you smaller. Well, America needs to be about, this kind of Christianity. And Mormons really aren't Christians and neither are Catholics. Okay. So you get rid of those people. And then it comes down to, well, we don't really like Baptists because a lot of those are black folks and we don't really want them. Okay. So you get rid of them. You see what I'm saying? And then
Yep.
eventually it circles down to what they wanted and what they said they wanted the whole time. But you see, that's that sort of idea of, once they came for these people and once they came for that,
Yeah.
and there was nobody left. And then they came for, these are truisms that never change and they
Yeah.
work because they've always worked. And we're not, and in that case, we're not sophisticated enough to separate because we always look at it and go, oh, that could never happen again. The minute you say that
Yeah.
could never happen again is when somebody's planning on doing it. That's my
Mhm.
Yeah.
What about
It's-
you, Nikki?
I've been agreeing with him.
Right, yeah. But do you have like an opinion on your own religion that's more of a cult?
I mean, I've done a lot of deconstruction of the way that I believe in things, and I believe that Christianity can be a good thing, but more often than not, I think it's a lot more problematic than good. Just as someone who has been a heavy part of church for a really long time, I was, and I've seen, rape apologists and all of that. I don't think I think it's a good place if you want to be an oppressed woman. Those are my feelings about it. I think it is very cult like though in nature.
All right then.
I think that Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, they have sort of very sort of cult like,
Agreed, yeah.
tendencies for sure.
I mean, they also, both quote unquote Jehovah's religions of Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons are provably false now. because like Christ was supposed to come back in the 2000s for Jehovah's Witnesses. Where is he? And Mormons, their entire religion is based on some golden tablet some dude looked at in a hat that had a history of fraud. So forgive me if I'm not taking him at his word.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to make somebody that
Don't
was
sue us. I'm allowed to.
No. All I'm saying is you wouldn't necessarily think though that taking somebody who was a proven fraudster in court and not making him the head of a organization, would you? I mean,
Well, L. Ron Hubbard said, if you want to make money, start a religion. Yeah, people
No,
take
no.
Scientology seriously.
right.
I mean,
All I'm saying is being a proven fraud in business and other things does not preclude you from, being the head of any sort of large organization with a lot
I
of
would
people.
say
Or
so,
country.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd
yeah.
say it
No.
was a
What?
plus.
Oh,
Or
what,
country.
Nikki? No. What?
Or country.
Yeah.
You might be banned from most countries because of your crimes, but it doesn't mean you can't run it.
No. That's all I'm saying is
That would be crazy talk.
yeah. Just remember that, Tom. I mean,
Oh.
I mean, Richard. Just remember the fact that you just called, a religion of fraud based on the fact that they were going to make Christianity great again.
They were.
That's all I remember. Joe Mormon saying.
Oh, I've just remembered. I've got a bit of more experience about this than than I've said so far. When I was about 18, and I was right in the thick of sort of evangelical Christianity. I don't know quite how this happened, but I got invited to a different church in London, and it was called the Central London Church of Christ. And I don't remember. I remember how I met a guy called Greg, and Greg was I can't remember how I met him. I really can't. I might have literally just bumped into him in the high street, in the middle of London or something. And I went to this church service, and everyone was super nice and super kind, and really. It was a bit full on, but no more so than I was already used to. And then I went back to my own main church that evening. I went, "Oh, guys, very naively, I kind of went, "Oh, guys, I met some people I went to a different church this morning. I knew I'd be able to come tonight as well, so I didn't see any harm in it. So off I went, and it was called the Central London Church of Christ." And everyone's mouths dropped, and they went, "Tom, they're a massive cult." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Oh yeah, they're a cult." They're like, "Oh, okay." And I sort of looked into this and found into it, and they're basically, the rest of the church were not happy with them because they did something that I gather that you really, really don't do, and that's if you formally state that you believe all other churches are wrong, they've gone astray. I mean, and this has happened dozens of times throughout history. They've gone astray. Only we know the way to God, and it's only us. Yep, just us. We are. I remember, and then I went and I was like, and I went and had a chat with a guy quite high up in this church called Alex, and I met him, and I said, "But God calls for unity in the church. We're supposed to all be united." And he said, "Yes, and we aim to be that church." So yeah, that was like a major red flag to sort of immediately condemn all other churches as beyond any sort of help or beyond, as a lost cause. Every other church was a lost cause. Only the Central London Church of Christ had it right. And there were various scandals, as you might imagine, of people not being allowed to leave, and people sort of being really hassled, and they were really into something called discipleship, which is like, it's kind of heavy indoctrination, and people who resisted this were sometimes found it very hard to leave and withdraw, and yeah, that was so that was it. I never went back after talking to that Alex guy. That was it. It was one and done. But yeah, that was quite. It was also it was interesting how the main church and the rest of the churches in England and this church had all blacklisted each other.
Right.
You know, they and both sides were completely happy for them to be sort of antagonistic. Yeah, it's very, very curious one. But you get that. I mean, I would imagine it was the same every time a big denomination has been founded. I mean, look at as you said, Richard, the Church of England, and then probably the Methodists and Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, any sort of offshoot of Christianity. They probably all started like that. People, somebody not happy with the main church writes it off and starts again.
I think the Illuminati started because they didn't want to pay the fees of the Freemasons. So
Oh,
but look at it like this.
True.
What Tom you just described is the norm, not the exception. At least the vast majority of history will say that Christian sects and groups love killing each other over shit like that. I mean, they love it. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that they sit secretly at home and just saying, I want to kill Joseph, the Catholic next door, because he's Catholic. However, they will, it is, if they're told that this religious war is worth it, they will do it. I mean, not all of the crusades were fought against Muslims, for example. The Albigensian crusade was sent to south of France and northern Spain, and that was to kill other Christians who didn't believe in the same thing they believed in, so therefore were heretical and therefore were exterminated en masse. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's a wonder to say, for religious purposes, who's killed more Christians, other Christians or other people of other religions. I don't know. Obviously, whenever you're coming around things like the Ottoman Empire and things like that, I don't know if you could know, but it's interesting to see that Christian folk will turn on themselves just as soon as any other religion will.
Oh, absolutely.
And that cohesion is not very hard to break up.
All right. So, religion. Oh, SoFlo says Jehovah's and Mormons and any revisioned faith is a cult. Yeah, I would agree with that. Revisionist
what's
faith.
a revisionist faith?
Like where they've added on to.
What's a revisionist faith?
Jehovah's Witness and Mormons, they have their own quote unquote books where they've added on to the original text.
Yeah, but I have my own problem with that too. I don't know if I should just keep talking about it. The constantly,
apparently Richard's going through. Apparently, Richard's just going through everything that could offend people because he's like, okay, we've already talked about politics, now religion.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the 3 forbidden topics.
I can tell you the.
Yeah, Tom's lagging again. You're lagging again.
I think I know the name of the Mormon book.
It's called the Book
of
Am
Mormon.
I
Really?
Yes.
Nikki, tell him he's...
Yeah, it's the Book of Mormon.
You're lagging.
Also, I am I?
Leave and come back, sir.
Yeah, leave and come back. Refresh your connection.
Okay.
But
Did you leave the room?
Right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, let's look at it this way, though. Any religion is a revisionist religion because once you get past the Council of Nicaea, where they decide what goes in and out of it, that was a revisionist thing in the 300 AD. So you've already lost the vast majority of anything that was already in there, knowing that Jesus didn't write anything down. and nothing was written down until what,
80 plus years later.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you know, the oldest verifiable version of the New Testament was kept somewhere in the desert in Egypt. They went and found it, and they found out that the whole part of the resurrection was added on later. It wasn't in the original document.
Really?
So-
I thought the page they found said this book is a work of fiction.
Yes, it was.
Any-
Yes.
Any
Every
reality
character
to
was
any
fictitious.
person's living or
Yes.
dead is
Yes.
purely coincidental.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is you don't, you know, that's the thing. We've accepted it as being true based on the fact that we were told it was true, and then you say, okay, well, this is the literal. What about the
Welcome back, Tom.
apocryphal texts? What about all those different things that we've clearly had and taken away, and all these different things? So, and then you've got problems with translation and everything like that. So, I mean, you could argue about the Bible from here till the end of time.
Absolutely.
You could, as far as what it's supposed to mean and what it doesn't mean, and all these different things like that. So, I mean, do you take it as, you know?
Yeah, I mean, apparently
literal
it says
translation?
in the Bible you're not supposed to like trans people.
Well, yeah.
I don't know where it says that, but
Okay. I heard somebody that I thought was brilliant in that moment referred to the Bible as the goat herder's guide to the galaxy.
I like that.
shepherd.
Nice. Always can tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty apropos at the time. I don't know. I felt guilty just for letting those words seep past my little virgin ears, but at the same time, I did feel the humor in it.
All right, so we've talked about religion. We've talked about politics. Now let us talk about the big one, the ultimate forbidden topic. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Nikki, how do you like your toast?
Oh shit. I like it lightly toasted. I don't like it to be toasty toast. It needs to have some bend to it, especially when there's butter.
And do you cut it?
No.
Savage.
And now I just eat it like that.
Jevin, how do you like your
I
toast?
don't know how well it's working. So, is it working for me? Am I lagging or am I okay? I don't know.
I don't know. Are you lagging? Talk right now.
Hey.
Yeah, you're
A
still
little bit
lagging.
of love.
Just a little bit.
That's weird.
Well, I'll keep going as long as I can.
How do you like your toast, Tom?
So
How
just
do
to
you?
say- okay, I'll try and talk about my toast. I like my toast relatively well done, probably just before it starts going black. I have it with either just margarine, sometimes Marmite, sometimes peanut butter, sometimes marmalade or lime marmalade, and I cut it diagonally into triangles.
Wow. Margarine. You use margarine.
Yeah,
You know,
don't
it's a
know how to
molecule
cook
away from
margarine is
plastic.
vegan.
Yeah, he's vegan. He's
Yeah,
not
he's
allowed to
vegan. He
have-
can't have butter.
They have vegan butter. You can have almond butter.
Isn't vegan butter just margarine anyway?
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Right.
Cool.
Everything's wrong with that. You have butter on toast or peanut
It's
butter.
one molecule away from plastic.
What Nikki said.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like using Miracle Whip instead of mayonnaise.
Well, it depends on what you're cooking, Richard. Sometimes Miracle Whip is better than mayonnaise.
Miracle Whip is never better than mayonnaise.
It depends on what you have.
I disagree with that completely. No, I mean I'm willing to give up my section of toast belief just to
No.
support Nikki. If you're
Yeah.
making a tuna fish sandwich, you I always use
Miracle
Miracle
Whip.
Whip.
Period.
Exactly, love.
You want that
You know.
vinegar. Period. Yes. If mayo is good for like a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich, but like if you need to add pizzazz, deviled eggs, Miracle Whip.
Yes. Yeah, it's two different parts of the same piece. Obviously, you could substitute one for another,
You
but
can't you can't substitute
But you'd be
mayonnaise for
wrong.
Miracle Whip. Yeah, mayonnaise is better than Miracle Whip, and
okay.
I'll
But
die on that hill.
if you came into a house and you ever see those shows on TV where people come into the thing and they go into the house and they're like there's three ingredients in the house that are totally divergent and yet they can come up with some dinner that's fabulous for everybody.
Yeah.
You ever watch those shows? That's never going to happen in real life. But I'm just saying, if you had to substitute Miracle Whip for mayonnaise or vice versa, you could do it. It would be a sad comparison, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you could do it. But I'm just saying, it depends. If you're having a club sandwich, what would you rather have, Nikki? Miracle Whip or
A club
mayonnaise?
sandwich,
A club sandwich. So you got
mayonnaise.
your turkey,
I want mayonnaise.
ham,
Yeah, I want
bacon.
mayonnaise.
So,
But I
yeah.
also do spicy mustard.
Okay.
Oh, and
Yeah, that's fine.
all right.
I'm also
Anyway,
a crazy
Kevin.
person when it comes to my mayo. There's only one kind, and that's Duke's.
Yes, Richard. How are you? How
That's
do I like
Hellman.
my toast?
Hellman's mayonnaise is the only kind of mayonnaise.
You've never had Duke's. That's why. That's why you
Yeah.
choose Hellman's. The people that choose Hellman's just have never tried Duke's.
We don't get Dukes in England, so
I know.
Yeah, the only do you
missing-
get Best Foods in England, or is that just Hellman's? It's probably owned by the same place anyway. Okay,
well,
as far as
Asda and Walmart are owned by the same place, but we don't get Walmart in England.
yeah, well, not yet. Anyway, okay, how do I like my toast? This
Yeah.
is the thing. It has to be. The ingredients are the most important part, and for me, okay, it has to be a very dense bread. I don't even know if you have this kind of bread. Is sunblast bread or nutty crust bread? Do you have those in England? Nutty crust.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very very dense bread. Toast it on one side, not both, to the brine stage. It's sort of a medium brine, and then with Irish butter on it, folded in half.
I love Irish butter. Oh my gosh.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Irish
Okay.
butter and that makes everything way better. I'm sorry, it's just
Yeah,
the way
it
it
does.
goes.
I use Irish butter all the time.
All right. Right. I'm a pretty devout atheist, Kevin. So understand the magnitude of this when I say what you just said is heresy. All right. Total fucking heresy. How could you only toast one side
Well,
and think that's acceptable?
because when my grandfather, who was from Bolton, by the way, so I'm sure he had the life expectancy of like 42 years old. But anyway, he would always, back in the day, you guys have cookers, not like we had cookers back. Whenever you got up in the morning, you got up and then you looked at the cooker. There was the 4 gas rings. And then above that was the grill in the grill pan. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And so you put your toast underneath the grill, like a broiler or whatever, sort of like a broiler, and you put it in there. And so you'd have to actually take your toast out, flip it over, and put it back in. So basically, they only did one side. For my grandfather only liked one side done, so that was my thing. That's how I got used to it. And he would fold it in half and dunk it in his tea. I don't know.
Interesting.
That's how we did it. I mean,
Tea and
uh,
toast,
in
that
half and
just doesn't make
Dunk
sense.
it in your tea.
well, you don't have to like it. I mean, it's just basically
But you
saying
got used to, yeah.
yeah, that's how I like my toast.
Once you get
It's
used to
those
it, yeah,
people that
okay.
will. Yeah, it's like those people that drink what
Yeah,
is it?
whiskey.
Milk.
Yeah.
The milk, the buttermilk. I know people
Yes.
that just drink it by itself.
Right.
And I'm like,
Buttermilk.
yes.
Buttermilk's actually pretty good, Nikki. I don't know.
Not by
Yeah.
itself.
Buttermilk's pretty. What?
Not by itself.
You're mental, Kevin.
Are you
You're
just trying to
absolutely
trigger
mental.
Richard now?
Just what would you have? So you toast the bread on one side, fold it in half, and then dunk it in your tea like some kind of, I don't know, like people like you need to be
Richard,
in.
you can hear.
I
Brother-
can't even. People like you need to be in camps. All right.
Do you not understand that I come from like a country village? I am the equivalent of an Irish redneck, brother. I am. I am the equivalent of,
I live in the arse end of nowhere in the north of England,
yes,
the
but it's still England.
backward place on earth, and nobody around here dips their bloody toast in tea. I mean, they probably dip their pies in tea, to be fair. But not toast. That's just weird.
Okay, imagine the milk in the tea and the sweet cream of the butter mixing into your tea, mate. That's all I'm
That
saying.
does actually sound good. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna knock it. Next time I see you, I'll have to try it.
It's kind of like what we used to call the Belfast Oreo. You know what I mean? 2 digestive biscuits with butter in between them. And you dip that in your tea. The Belfast Oreo. Because we didn't have anything like Oreos and shit like that when we were kids. I mean, I still remember eating sugar buddies, mate. You know what I mean? Just some bread, some butter, some, Tate and Lyle's. Fold it in half and eat it.
My school did
I love-
these chip buddies were like one of the best things ever. And I've never been able to replicate it.
Yes. So that's it. And so the guy who is the lead singer from Snow Patrol's named Gary Lightbody, and he's from Bangor, where you guys stayed,
Mhm.
And Mrs. Lightbody lived up in the village. That wasn't his mom, but it was some relation to him. And she used to give us sugar buddies out of the back of her house, because you'd never go around somebody's front door. You know what I mean? Front doors were for good people. If you were, from the village or whatever, you just go around the back. And she used to give us sugar buddies from the back door. I remember she's old Mrs. Lightbody. She's nice. But anyway, that's my connection to Snow Patrol, is that one of his aunts or something like that used to give me sugar buddies out the back door. So what do you think of that story? That's a good wee story, isn't it?
It is a good wee story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what a
So
sugar
I'm
buddy
probably-
is.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's just bread, butter, and sugar on it. Like
Oh,
granulated
okay.
sugar. Just
Got you.
granulated sugar. Because we couldn't afford anything else.
I love the fact that we managed to discuss religion, no problem, politics, no problem, but toast. Oh, we're suddenly at war with each other and beating the shit out of each other.
That's the
Yeah,
big.
but
That's the joke between Richard
Yes.
and I. Yeah.
Well, I think it's because you can figure out that none of us really think that we have a say in politics or care about religion.
That's very true.
Whereas
yeah.
you mess with my toast, brother.
I'm not
Yeah.
even calling what you have toast.
Yes,
Some kind of weird abomination against man and God.
Okay, but listen, if you were going to have a toasted bagel, would you toast both sides?
Yes.
No, not a bagel.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
God.
put it in the toaster
Yeah.
and it
Well,
toasts
I'll put it in
both
the grill.
sides.
Nah, man, you guys have got that all wrong. You put toaster, you slice a bagel in half, you put both sides cut side up, and you put it under the grill, not in the toaster. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's like you don't want to toast the butthole. I mean, think about it. Nobody wants a toasted, brown, all chewy butthole. You want to keep the butthole of the. You want to keep the butthole of the bagel nice and nice and nice and soft, so that whenever you put your cream cheese on it, it squirts through the back, and then you can tongue it out of there.
Wait, how are you eating your cream cheese? Wait, tongue it. Okay, never mind. I'm there. I'm with you.
You see what I'm saying,
How
now,
are you eating
Nikki?
your bagel? Are you eating it like a sandwich, you savage?
No,
just
you
put cream
you
cheese
take
on
the
it.
two sides, you spread it
there.
on the top. You can either be really pedantic about it and not just scrape it across the top.
Oh, I
If
scrape
you
it across the top every time.
if
Yeah.
you do the scrape up, then you're going to have the ooze of
Yeah.
the ooze in the back, and you got to
Yeah.
get the ooze out.
Yeah, you gotta lick that butthole.
Exactly, the bagel butthole.
And
I think
somehow we finish where we started.
Hawk to a
spit on that
spit on
thing.
that thing.
Just spit on it. Just bring it right back around. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. It's good night from me, and it's good night from them. Good night, everyone.
night.
Night, everybody.
Follow me for more.